Na.
Yeah, all I see is my screen on infinity. I don't know what you see.
Oh yeah, that's because it's my turn my thing I'm on. My screen share is on.
Okay.
Uh so if anyone's watching, we're not officially starting yet. We're about to start in a second. I have with me and this is messed up because I always mix up and call you Stacy because of Stylus. It's like Tracy
No.
Strong from Stylus Rumble.
Hey,
Um,
kids.
and hopefully we'll be joined by Colin Bennett from Onion Skin in a bit.
I didn't even know
So
he had a name.
I always have to remember it. It's like, yeah, Onion Skin, Status Rumble. It's like Onion Rumble. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah,
Uh,
Onion Rumble. I love that.
it's like I don't know. Am I the only one that's maybe I always have this bad habit of buying like, oh wow, that domain name is available. I'm going to buy it. So it's like,
The first one I ever bought was Stylist Rumble.
oh wow, cool.
Yeah, I've never done. I was a secret person for forever. It was only at the beginning of like a year ago this month that I started going on social media and putting my art out there and stuff like that. I'm going to share your link.
Oh, coolness. Thank you. Now, which link are you sharing?
The live one.
Okay, the live link. Okay, cool. Yeah, I've gotten really good with it's not, I don't think it's alliteration or whatever, but there's like TonyTeach. Then I bought Big Block Books, which is like a little kids thing. And oh the thing we did with the limited animation called Black Blood White. And I was kind of giddy as a schoolgirl yesterday because I was watching my daughter who's 8, she had a school dance and they're playing all this music, and part of it was like, ah, this is nice to dance to, but I don't think it's appropriate for an elementary school. And I was like, why can't they take the nursery rhymes, and make them sound like current day music instead of making them sound like the old polka music, because they've been making them sound that way since I was a kid. So it's like, make them sound more fun. And so,
Man, there's this YouTube channel or this Netflix channel called Baby Bum or Little Baby Bum or something. And it's
okay,
all just nursery rhymes. And it
okay.
makes me want to stab people. Like my kid loves it though. It's like the old hokey nursery rhymes, and I just can't.
Well, I mean, have you tried Yo Gabba Gabba yet?
Well, I can do stuff like Wiggles. He hasn't gotten into Yo Gabba Gabba yet, but
Okay. Weird,
it's
like,
not kids' music in general. It's specifically like the really gentle nursery rhymes on loop that
oh wow.
vicious person. The show I'm working on now has kids' songs, like it's a sing-along show, and they're so catchy. They're dangerous. And I always seem to have to do a lot of stuff on the sing-along part, so I ended up going around the rest of the week just like da, 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 with the song stuck in my head. It's bad. Animator problems.
Oh, dude, I should have grabbed a beer. I'm just grabbing water.
It's St. Patrick's Day.
Is it?
Tooralura.
I think my wife. I always mess it up. She either got Irish roots or Scottish roots. One of those.
Just don't mix it up in front of the family.
Oh, I don't think they'd mind. They're from the Appalachian Mountains in Tennessee, so. But anyway. Okay, guys, this is Tony Ross from TonyTeach.com and saying hi. How you doing? We are being joined tonight by I almost called you Stacey.
What's her face?
Stylist Rumble. I won't mess up your name. Tracy Strong with Stylist Rumble. And hopefully we'll have Onion Skin join in a bit. He's in Australia. So hopefully they're getting their interwebs up and fast and going and stuff.
You don't get fast interwebs in Australia.
So I've heard. I've been bragging as of late. We were blessed not only to get our apartment, but one of the things that we actually picked this place for is because they were like, "Oh, we're going to have Google Fiber," and I was like, we now have Google Fiber. So
Nice.
I'm like, yeah. It was like, I was like,
Pearl
yeah.
onion skins on a bicycle right now, trying to get some reception, trying to get some energy going.
It's got little baby wallabies like in a little. It's like we're talking crap about onion skin. We
Well, he's
love
not
you, onion
here.
skin.
I should not be get here before he did.
I was like,
I ran my kid out today so he'd go to sleep early. I was like running wind sprints in the backyard. I'm like, go to sleep, child.
I am digging the curls, by the way. I meant to tell you
Yeah, I
that.
haven't had a chance to get a haircut. This is what I'm hiding is these like Cindy Lou Who ringlet curls. I start looking pretty like, oh no, what's her name? Not Cindy Lou Who. That's the Shirley Temple, the like
Oh, okay.
with the real spiral curls.
Yeah. So basically, what we wanted to do, this is a conversation we've been having on and well, pretty much off screen, and every professional I actually run into, everyone that's working in the business, working in Toon, they like to read me the riot act because I almost never use pegs, especially when I was beginning, mainly because when I was taught Toon Boom Animate, I believe, the way I was taught was, yeah, go ahead and just you're pretty much using your drawings and setting up your pivot points and parenting and different things like that. And as time went on, like I'll use deformers and even all those different things. But for the most part, whenever I am building something or animating something, I am usually just using my drawings.
That's
And
because you're wrong. That's all.
it's like,
That's
so
it's
so
really that's it.
so what I wanted to do is bring on some other people. Also, and kind of let you guys know, this is going to be a webinar. We're going to be sharing different information, right opinions and wrong opinions. and
Oh, I
um,
got opinions, sir.
and so at the end of this, we're gonna give you hopefully a lot of information, a lot of value. At the end of this, I am going to be announcing that I've got a new course coming out and letting you guys know, hey, there's an opportunity to pre-purchase it and get it like cheaper. So letting you know.
Hooray!
So if you're thinking this is going to be one of those free webinars where they're going to pitch something to me at the end and make me try to buy something,
You're absolutely right.
yes, I will do that. But we are also going to give you information. So
I'm not selling nothing, but you can send me money if you want to.
money is good. Money is awesome.
Or
So
snacks.
so I'm sharing with you a couple of the characters. This is a character I did, Camper, the Intergalactic Bounty Hunter. Um,
Oh,
and
I downloaded. I gotta open
oh,
this up.
cool. Yeah, so I've she's rigged just with the drawings. Um, and I was giving a shout out earlier to my biz partner, Mr. Chris Cartledge. If you've ever seen me draw, whether in a course or or live, you realize that these drawings are not mine. It's like I'll draw something out rough and I'll go, "Hey, Chris, make it pretty." And so let me think. Where does yeah, Camper has this little weird arm, and even here we actually did this like drawing subs and stuff like
Not
that.
fun.
There's some
Like a hologram arm, or
yeah,
like a
kind of, yeah. There's these little alien little micro beings that her and her arm have a symbiotic relationship. So it's like an
nice.
I
I
think
love it.
did I go backwards? Just go backwards there. Yeah, that what is it? It can actually morph and change into different things. So we're like, yeah, one of them's a tentacle, one of them's like a blade, other crazy stuff.
I love it.
Um, but yeah, and we came up with the idea. Even this is before we started playing with stuff. She was put together so we could play around with things like she's put together so even if you're using what is that thing called? Harmony Essentials, you could actually work with her. I think if I were doing this now, I'd probably want to do her hair probably and have a couple curved deformers or something. But that's me.
Yeah,
Um,
they have their advantages for sure.
yeah, I mean, and I get what you're saying. Like, I've seen some. I look at some of the stuff that Toon Boom does. I was just like, whoa, that's a lot of deformers.
Well,
So
the problem I have with deformers, because I'm very vocal about how I think that deformers are overused. I work in TV, so
right,
it's breakneck speeds. You're expected to do a lot of footage at a time, and we have a big team, so there's a good chunk of juniors on the team. So you can build a fighter jet rig, but none of the baby animators can use it. They just came out of driver's ed and they got to get in a fighter jet. I'm like, they need a Jetta, guys. They don't need a fighter jet. They're just gonna break everything, and they do. They break it. They don't know what half the buttons do. Like they can't even get the thing started. And it's fine if you're gonna build something for yourself. Build it with whatever bells and whistles you like. But if you have to work in a production setting, you have to take the new guys into account and work with them. So it has to be very. They should be able to open it up and within a few days get themselves situated. They know what all the features are. And deformers are so easy to add that if you need them, you just slap a new one in there. It takes seconds. It's not a big involved situation.
right.
So if Bucky McMasterface wants to add in 50 deformers and have his own personalized rig, then he can. But then the baby animators still have something they can use, and it doesn't bog down the scenes that no everybody's complaining it lags because there's more deformers than character. It's crazy.
Coolness. Um, I think now not the words. Me talk good one day. Can you see my screen? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Um, like I did. And let me think. Mr. Pepper here is actually done. I'm using a peg like a master peg, but for
Yeah.
the most part, I'm just using have my bones attached directly to the artwork. Um, and let me also be clear. I was trying to. This is one of the conversations Onion Skin and I were having, and this is also one of the things specifically. I teach differently than Stylish Rumble or Onion Skin. Like for instance, I don't necessarily work in the industry. I haven't worked in the industry. I pretty much am a trainer and teacher. And more specifically, what I've been doing lately is working with Toon Boom and uh, I think what TonyTeach is going to start really leaning toward is beginners, as you say, the baby animators, um, and specifically, what is that? Oh yeah, K through 12, and
Nice.
yeah, because what I've been doing lately is Tim Bim's. I've been doing a lot of training for them and training high school teachers. I've gone out. I've done a lot of this online, but a couple of them I've actually had the privilege of going out on site, and it's interesting that I think Toon Boom has always done an education thing, even way back in the day when they had Toon Boom Studio. But what they're doing now is their high schoolers learning. And I was first excited to dive into this. I was like, oh, cool, because I really wanted to focus on Harmony Essentials. And they're like, no, 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 the high schoolers are doing Harmony Premium. And I was just like, what? Okay.
They can't afford Harmony Premium.
But they can. That's the scary part. It's like, oh,
Damn. My
well,
allowance was
well, I
not
mean,
good enough.
they have the what's that thing? They've got the educational discount, but the schools themselves have set it up where they're getting their students are getting certified. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Uh so yeah, that's what I'm gonna start focusing on. Last but not least, I've got this old dude here. Um, let's see. What I wanted to show is something. Wait a minute. How many? Let's keep him there. Let me get rid of that last one because that looks like no one. Bye.
Nobody in particular.
No one in particular. Just an old cartoon. Um, one of the things that we started doing, when I was working with a hamburger client, one of the little tricks we would do, is grab the arm here. Seriously, dude. I keep realizing that one of the things I just got back from Florida, like, and I'm saying just as in last week, I have yet to pull my stylus and Wacom tablet back out. And it's like
So you're just mousing it up right
I'm
now?
mousing it up right now. And I was like, I go, oh yeah, I got to do that. So make another thing, and I'll call this. What is this going to be? Is that your right arm? Is it your left arm? Um, Now this is one of the big things. This is where the conversation was leading. If you look at a lot of the rigs that I do versus one of Stylish Rumble's rigs, I don't rig for. I'm normally just doing like these little one-shot things. Either the character's going to be forward, maybe it's three-quarter, but it's not like a full 360 or turning rig or anything like that. Um, did I say add close? Seriously? There you go, close. So if I paste this, so what I tend to do, and this is a trick that we had figured out recently, this little down and dirty trick. Cut. We got a left arm, make another one. We'll call this the right arm. Boingy, boingy, boingy. Now I am almost 50. I think I'll learn to type this year. All right. So what I would end up doing is we would grab the body, grab a deformer, maybe start the base, pull up a little bit, maybe come down from the head a little bit. Then give the arms a little bit of movement. Right arm, do the same thing. Go here. I know I did not go on and draw on the other parts, but
We get where you're going, I think.
yeah, cool. And take one of these suckers and maybe put a. This is where I always mess up. Wait a minute.
Yeah, I just don't even work from the timeline. So I'm
Huh?
looking at it just sweating right now. It's so much harder that way.
It's
The
like
node view right there is not even open.
we're at
You know I love
this
that node
thing,
view.
the node view.
Oh, that's the bread and butter of this program. That's the reason you get premium.
It's like
I'm not gonna look at your rig though. I don't know.
so yeah, I would normally grab where is it at? Did I crank those out yet? So I would normally just grab this little guy, pop a little kinematic output on him and the other arm, and then drop that into here. So in theory, love to do this live, especially in front of you. It's like
No,
huh?
I see where you're going. You
So
got
in
good. You
theory,
got ideas.
uh, 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 uh. So yeah, I would actually obviously go in and finish the arms out, but um, again, this is one of those hamburger client dancing to the music, and they're like, "Yeah, it looks awesome," and I go, "Thank you."
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's the cheat we would do. And again, I would because I was doing a lecture at one of the I don't know, it was one of these festivals or something, and someone looked over at my rig and said, "No, you said you didn't use pegs." And I was like, "No, those are deformers. It's like, it's not a peg." It's like, calm down. But yeah, I this is what probably one of my favorite cheat rigs to do. Ah, damn it. Um, and the other thing is, let me ask you this, and then I'm probably going to hand the mic over to you in a second anyway. Do you have your preferences set up so you don't select the artwork?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. And specifically, what I was talking about is, I just grabbed the arm here instead of
Yeah,
the
that's
deformer.
that's one of the advantages to not using your drawings as animatable objects.
Well, I could turn that off.
But if
So,
you're using your drawing to animate, you can't turn that off
well, if I'm using
because you're
my,
animating on your drawing.
well, what is that thing? If I'm using my advanced, dang it, where am I? Wait a minute, did I do that?
You're on
Controls.
15, so you got like a million things.
Oh, I am. control. So if I turn my controls off, in theory, I can do this now. So nope, it still actually works. That's the weird hiccup.
Well, you don't have a peg, so it doesn't know what it's selecting.
Ah, okay, I see what you're saying.
Right?
Mm, mm, mm.
Because there are a lot of, like, this is a great, I need to get something done in 10 minutes sort of a rig. Like, we've all got those cheats to get
Yes.
us through the day. Because especially, like I said, in TV, it's a breakneck speed. So I make some really hideous decisions from day to day. Nobody wants to look in there. Nothing is named. It's all just like ASDF drawings everywhere. But I'm the only one in the department. Nobody else has to come behind me and fix anything. They call me if it breaks. So I know that it's safe. But from a learning point of view, you don't want to learn the cheats first. You want to learn the long way. That way, they know what they've actually done.
Okay.
And then they're making more educated decisions. Because a lot of the problem I have with people teaching rigging is they teach the way that they know how to rig.
Okay.
So my arm rigging video shows 6 different ways to rig an arm. So if you have 6 different instructors that are teaching their right way, and then the baby rigger goes to another department or another studio, they are told they're wrong. But they're not wrong. They're just doing it a different way. There's 6 right ways. There's more than 6. There's probably 20 ways you can do what you need to do to get to the end of the thing, to get a working solution. But if you actually know what all the things are that you're using, if you know what a peg does and what the menus mean, if you know what a drawing does and the difference between the drawing and the peg and how they work, then you can make much more educated decisions on your own. And if you need to make these shortcut rigs, you can come up with things on your own that you haven't been taught because you know what the tools do. So you can take those different tools and use them in different ways. If you've only been taught that hammers can smash things, you don't know they can build things.
Ooh, I like that.
So I like to teach the long way around. I don't show someone a hotkey. I show them the menu. And then I'm like, since you're here in the menu, you can see what the hotkey is. So if you want to memorize this, memorize it and do. Learn your hotkeys. Don't be a savage.
Are you calling me a savage?
If you're not using your hotkeys, you're wasting time.
I use some of my hotkeys. I'm going to learn them.
Well, because if you know what everything does, then when you get a new problem, you have a collection of tools to solve that problem. Whereas if you learn to rig this way, the next time you get something that's completely different, you don't know what to do, or you end up with something that's bad. And that happens all the time in the studio. You just get bad, junky, garbage rigs because the person who's rigging doesn't actually know what everything does. They've just been taught this is how you rig a character. Then they get a dump truck and they don't know how to rig a dump truck. They don't know how to set up the wheels to turn while being able to move the truck around. Like, then you get these wobbly ass wheels because nobody's taught them how to problem solve. They've only taught them this is how you do this one way. I just think the wrong way about it, to go about it.
Coolness.
Mm-hmm. And I like pegs. And I do say that not rigging with pegs is wrong. I've just said, oh, there's no right way. But there is much better ways to do something in terms of efficiency. So I'm just going to completely disagree with what I just said and tell you not to do this other thing.
By the way, we're kicking over to your screen.
Yeah, I'm just sitting here. I don't have anything open.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because it was what's the word I was looking for? I do, and the funny thing is you're saying efficiency, like, yes, I do get that it is a much more efficient thing. Like if something goes crazy wrong on a peg, like I like how you can just clean up keys or whatever you're doing on there versus crap, what was that connected to, yada yada yada, or was that down on the drawing of the hand, or was that part of the arm? And so I kind of like that. I was doing my my little, what is that? My little cheat, my no-legged walk cycle, where I basically take a torso and a head and bounce them up and down, and then I have that attached to a peg, and then take another peg and actually have it move forward. So, but little cheats like that. Um, and I use that to explain like where you can have, I was talking to um and I can't even I don't they weren't even baby animators. These were people who were I was trying to explain to them Toon Boom Harmony and I was trying to explain to them what a peg was. And so they were trying to use their experience. And they kept saying,
I'll show you my
so
how
so
you.
it's like a tripod? Like
I'll
no.
show you. This is my explanation for peg versus drawing, and I've got videos for this. I need some sort of a drawing device. Let me see if I can find one real quick.
You have glowing headphones. Those are cool.
Yeah, well, I needed cordless ones because I live in these things. So I need to be able to run away for snacks. I don't keep this ballerina body by not being close to my snacks. Okay, so you have a drawing.
Yes.
So I can draw a thing on my drawing.
Right.
And it's always a specific position in regards to the actual paper. But I can move the paper. So I'm moving the drawing, right?
Right.
And that's what animation basically is. So you have your grid when you're in your drawing mode or whatever, and your drawing is always in a specific location in regards to that grid, wherever you've drawn it. So if you move it with your drawing tools, you're moving it in relation to the grid. So you can move it over to this part of the grid, right? Then when you're animating your paper, you're animating your paper. So you can do this or you can do this. A peg is just connecting something to the paper, and the peg moves the paper.
Okay.
That's what it is. So if you come from a background in traditional animation, which is what I started in, you have a peg bar.
Yes.
Which moves your paper. And that's where the word peg comes from. It's just a peg is just something that's connected to the paper and moves it around. That's all it is.
Right.
So that's my basic, this is the difference between drawing and animating.
Yeah, it's like the what was it? I was like the Acme peg bar, and like bringing that up there, and
I just broke my peg bar. I don't have one now.
Oh man, I need to buy one and then get one of those new LED light tables because it's just like the little things instead of it being like the old school hot spots that had the little fluorescent lamp in it. It's like versus like everything being
techno animator.
But yeah, what was it? I was showing them. I kept having to go, so I walked over to the screen and did the rotate screen. So, matter of fact,
That's what we do when people do tours through the studio.
Really?
We just like, hey, man, this moves back and forth.
I'm gonna
throw a deformer in there. Everybody's impressed.
Well, that's the thing I would do. Like, it's a cheap thing. I would seriously. There it is. Is my screen back on? I think it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, the traditional animation disc and the rectangle at the bottom with the dash dot dash. The dash dot dash is the peg. The way the traditional stuff is, and it's just I don't know. It's kind of because yeah, I think I was one of the as far as our schools were one of the last ones that at least in Atlanta we're still using like the peg bars and everything. So
yeah, I think the school I went to still makes everybody do the paper stuff first, at least for one semester, just so they can kind of appreciate what happens.
I can see that, and I don't know. It's like
it has advantages and disadvantages for sure.
I agree, but it's like I know what is it when I think about it when we were teaching graphic design or teaching desktop publishing. Is there? When my wife and I went to school, we were taught using Rubylith and Amberlith to do cutout. Do you know what I just said? No,
that's before my time.
Like, so
I've been only at this decade and a bit.
So imagine instead of quick, you know what quick masking is in Photoshop?
Yeah.
Okay, imagine manually doing that, but you've got this like Rubylith, it's like this red type of paper, and so you're cutting with an X-Acto knife.
Gotcha.
And it's like we're going, I remember like when we started teaching, and they were still showing students this, and I was like, we're like, guys,
That's
stop
not a
showing
thing
it,
anymore. Yeah.
stop showing them. It doesn't have any advantage. Like you need to teach them how to master quick masking because that's what's in the industry.
I think
So,
one of the only advantages if you have sort of a paper course is that a lot of students don't have a lot of experience digitally. At least this was 10 years ago. So nowadays it's a lot cheaper to get started digitally and
right.
drawing on a tablet or whatever. But if people are struggling to get that transition, then they can just start with the bouncing ball and stuff on paper, and they aren't kind of fighting the medium as much.
I can see
But
that.
then you have all the paper cuts and you have to photograph everything.
My I have a very good friend in oh, who shall remain nameless because he's probably not watching this anyway. It's like
I'm going to email him, tell him you're talking about him.
but my good friend Joe, who's classically trained, worked on what was it thing? He has the most awesome stories. I would say when I open up my school of animation, he's going to be the history of animation teacher because there's no books. Joe's just going to go like, yeah, when I was sitting and I was sitting next to so and he said this. Like, you're not recording this, are you? He said this, and so. But yeah, he is. I was messing with this. He's such a pixel phobe. He is. My job with him is he will bring me something that he's got on sheets, and he'll bring me the X sheet and go, here, don't mess this X sheet up. Okay, cool. So
I think 90% of the people who are coming into animation now don't actually know how an X sheet works. They don't know how timing charts work. It's just something that has never come across their desk before. And a lot of 2D animators now are coming in and they have very little drawing experience, which is strange.
Well, I mean, it's the argument of like one of the instructors was during my training, they kept asking me, um, their kids were trying to figure out what they could go into, and I was like, well, yeah, Toon Boom's site redesign is pretty awesome because they're like, oh, you could be this, or you could be this, or you could be this. And I think one of the things for me, for instance, everyone is like, "Oh, Tony, why don't you go and what was it? The craziest thing someone said. They're like, "Oh, John K is hiring." I was like, no, I don't draw. I can't go anywhere near that guy." It's like, so it's like I think a lot of the animators now aren't necessarily, especially on like some of the TV shows, aren't necessarily drawing animators as much as they are moving
Animating animators.
yes, you're right. They're moving the puppets that someone who knew how to draw is doing. I would dare, and correct me if I'm wrong on that.
I think there's definitely a mix. I've worked with guys who literally cannot draw, and I only work in 2D because I'm a big snob.
Right.
And so he'll be sitting right next to me, and if he needs a new hand, he has to like phone a friend. He's like, "I need a new hand." I'm like, "Yeah, so just handle it." And he's like, "What? Don't we just send that to design?" I'm like, "What? No, just draw a hand. Just what?"
I think because you are new old school. You're not old school.
I'm from the woods, so I never really got into technology until I was a grown up.
So it's
My parents still use the wood stove. I'm pretty antiquated.
So I think you're that like back in
I'm
my
the
day,
transition.
we knew how to draw and animate and do all that.
I'm one of those nostalgic millennials that are really angry.
But yeah,
no, well, to me, because I've always been the type that the more I know, the more I can do. Okay. So if drawing is a thing that's going to help me get jobs and stay employed and be a valuable employee, then I should draw, obviously. And drawing was what I wanted to do in the first place. That's what really got me interested in animation. But a lot of animators just are animators, and they're not willing to pick up a little bit of rigging and get into the node view and start digging around and see what all this stuff does and find out why pegs are used or deformers are used. They get the rig, they do their animation, and then they go home. But they're not interested in learning what the guy next to them does. And I think that's it slows them down, first of all. They're not the ones that are climbing the ladder. The ones that are climbing the animation ladder are the ones who are interested. So they want to figure out a little bit, enough about rigging so that they could speed up their animation. So we have, you know who's going to climb that ladder just by opening their scene. Because I often help the character animators catch up on scene. So when I'm finished the effects, I'll just, hand me some stuff to do. And I'll get a baby animator scene and the prop is not connected to the hand. That's someone who didn't figure out how the rig worked. They just never bothered. So they're working in a much less efficient way just because they weren't interested, or like they just never went to see how that worked. So you can always tell who's taking the time to look at the next department because they're getting better and they're getting faster and they're more useful. And with animation, because it's such a high turnaround, a show might only last 6 months and then the show is gone. So if you can draw, if you can do layouts, you're useful. They can shove you in the layout department. If you can do design, they can shove you in the character design department. But if you can't, then they just tell you to go away. So don't do that.
Good to know.
Learn all the things.
That's it's like, I'm talking about me now. So everything you said is literally part of my journey for this year. One is to really get into the nitty gritty of harmony, and start going, how does this work? How does this work? How does this work? And even talking with Onion Skin about, and you've been talking about the coder lately. And I'm like, damn it. Now I've already been working with JavaScript and kind of saying, I got to learn this because of working in Unity or building an ebook. And now here comes freaking Toon Boom going, hey, do you know any JavaScript? I'm like, damn it. So got to study JavaScript, got to really dive in with learning harmony, but also working on my animation skills and drawing skills for the year. So I can stop. It's a lovely thing working on something. And I joke about this a lot, but I surround myself with people who literally draw circles around me. So whenever I'm drawing my little ugly character, I'm like, Tony, if you need a rig, I can just draw you up something. Like, shut up. Look at my ugly drawing and like it. So.
Well, that's one thing about animation is if you really want, like, you can go into specialization, especially if you're from a place like California that has feature film, and you can specialize right down to like dog animation. Like you can just be the guy who they call when they need animals animated. That's a thing. Or you can be, the person who just designs science fiction locations. That's possible. But generally, like the majority of people who are working in animation are in television or web stuff, games, things like that. And you're expected to have a little bit of a broader base. So you can kind of dabble into things, but there's just so many different areas that you can branch into. That's impossible to know everything about everything. Okay. The only reason I know so much about harmony is because I've been using harmony exclusively for a decade. And when I don't know how something works, I read the help menu. That's the first year or 2 years or 3 years, I didn't know very much and I was reading the help menu a lot. But after a decade, you've read most of the menu.
That's the one thing
that's why I know what all the buttons do.
I was teaching people because I'll be training and they'll ask me something. What was that the other day? Oh, I was teaching Storyboard Pro. And they kept and the question, and I keep forgetting it. What is slugging? And I was like, let me show you exactly where the help menu is. So it's like, it's right here. It's like,
I don't know how many times I've had people just say like, there's blue outlines on my drawings. I know there are. Let me just write the hotkey on this Post-it note and tape it to your desk so you don't ask me anymore.
Well, that's always a fun thing. It's like when people, that's my little, as a trainer, it's like going over people going, there's this thing, or people call me and it's like, okay, can I answer this question without getting out of my bed? It's like, well,
that's why I started Stylish Rumble in the first place, because I'd be working in the studios and I'd have the exact same questions
over and over. Yeah.
Over and over again. So I'm like, well, just here you go. I could just forward you this video now. somebody messaged me the other day and they're like, how do you use the particles? I'm like, well, I have a 4-part series where you could just click on this link. It's in a playlist. And then I, eat a snack and do my job.
Okay. So do you ever, and I know you're a hardcore peg to the max here. Do you ever create something without using pegs?
The only time I don't add a peg to a drawing is if it's not going to be animated, like using the animation tools. If I'm going to do, because a lot of special effects are hand drawn, so it's just frame by frame, you're just adding drawings.
Okay.
So I won't add a peg then if I don't need one. I add my stuff in the node view. So I've got in my template library, I just have a drawing peg combo.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have to add a peg, because I'm not doing that every single time. That's bonkers. So I just made a template and I pull it in. So even when I'm not ever going to use the peg, it has one there. But it might not get used. So I could delete it if it didn't need it there. It just happens to be there. But if I have a drawing that doesn't have a peg and it's all hand animated stuff, if that needs to be moved, I add a peg. Because if your animation is on your drawing, it can get shifted around, or you could have to adjust the timing, or you could have to add or remove drawings. And if you're extending your exposure to add drawings, you're changing the timing on the animation. And you just get in a tangle. So you have to make sure you're only selected on your drawing option, so that you're moving drawings around, but you're not moving your animation around. And it's just a nuisance. Like, pegs are so cheap resource-wise, and they don't take any effort to add, especially if you make a template where it's added already. So to me, it has no downside to add it, but it has so much benefit, because then you're not tangling up your drawings by moving your animation around. It just keeps it separate all the time.
Okay.
So I can't see why you wouldn't add it. Like, it's a huge safety net, and it's free. And once you understand it, which doesn't take huge amounts of time, it just adds so much flexibility. Because I mean, even say your animation's all wrong, you could just delete the peg and it's gone.
Okay.
Or if you need to swap out your drawing, if you have a drawing that's used as an animation tool, and then you need to add a new drawing, then you need to use that drawing as a peg, right?
Right.
Rather than reanimate it. I hope you're not doing that. But then you'd have to double up on your drawing. So you have this useless drawing holding information, animating the good drawing.
Ah, okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you're just keeping extra. So, but if you had a peg, you can just swap out that drawing. Done.
Okay. Let me ask you this. Do you ever, since you're not adding a peg, since you're not actually animating the drawings, do you ever do your what's that word I'm looking for? Do you ever change your drawing pivots at all?
Nowadays in TV, everybody uses peg pivots.
Okay.
So you're using your rotate tool to set up your pivot points rather than using the drawing pivot.
Right. No,
because I've had problems with baby animators who come in and they don't understand how the drawing pivot relationship works with the peg.
Right.
Because if you add a new drawing, you're not duplicating it, and you're not copying over your pivot point, then your pivot point is off.
Right.
And once you probably knew what I just said, but but most people who come in can't really understand that relationship. So using peg pivots, it's a little bit easier for them to understand, even though it takes longer for the riggers to set up.
Right.
And also some of the new nodes that have come in, I can't remember what they're called off the top of it, because they've changed them since they were in beta and stuff, the names of them. But the new 15 nodes actually use the pivot point, the peg pivot, to reference things. And also, if you add a deformer and you have a drawing pivot, that breaks your pivot. So you have to duplicate your drawing and use it as a peg reference for your pivot point. So by switching everything to peg pivots, it does take longer to set up, but it solves a lot of problems when you're working with a team of people who don't necessarily understand what you're doing.
So basically, I think I'm back on my screen.
Yeah.
Like I never, even when I'm training, I actually tell them where the drawing pivot is, and then I explain to them to not use it. So even if you're actually using, even if you're doing like what I normally do is, which is just animating directly on my drawings, I still come over here and use the rotate tool to set where my pivots are.
Mm-hmm.
Which I am. Oh yeah, I'm in a bone. Sorry. I was like,
Yeah,
why is it?
see, you added Deformer, and now it's all jacked up. If you had a peg, you wouldn't have that problem.
So wait, okay. So where are you at? So do you, when you're adding bones, you're still using pegs with the bones?
Yeah, always, always pegs. Because
So
then the peg is the boss of the bone's deformer, or the pivot point, sorry.
okay.
So it knows where to rotate. Because even if you have bones in there, you'd still rotate using your peg. Well, you probably wouldn't if you're setting up bones, but you wouldn't have like separate upper arm, lower arm. Like,
You mean your bone strips, or
I never use bone deformers. Honestly, they're garbage.
what is with you and bone deformers? I know you don't like deformers.
No,
What are
the
you
only time I use bone deformers are in dog bodies.
really?
Yeah, I love using them for the dog's torso because it does a really good sitting position and standing position. I'm like, this is a great place for a bone deformer, this one specific location. But because a bone deformer just acts like pegs, it just has a really tedious selection process. Like, I do not see why people like them. And
They look neat and they bend neat. They do
they're just new and novel, whatever. The curve deformer has so much that you can do with it. It has a huge utility. But the bone deformer, I think, is not as good as setting up an arm with separate pieces. I don't see any advantage to using bone deformer unless it's a dog body.
Well, I mean, me personally, I like even on the separate pieces because you've got the little glue and deformation thing happening, even with the bone deformer. And
I hope you're not using glue.
no, I'm not at all. I'm saying
I know riggers who just sat up in their beds like, did he say glue?
it's okay. Back in the days of old, yes, there was this thing, but what I'm saying is with
I love glue so bad.
it's like what's happening now. Do I have a hand with it? I think it's working. Oh, where we at? Where we at? Yeah, Mr. Crab. There you are. Yeah. The with it being still attached, like the different pieces, and you're not having to worry about, okay, did I break my joint here, or did you do the what's that thing called? Don't have to do the patches and worry about things slipping. Um, Now, me personally, this is why I still like to push things with Bone Deformers, and Onion Skin does an incredible job. Like he actually did tentacles the other day, and I actually commented.
Yeah, I saw that video.
I was like, you bastard. I was like, I learned so much, but I hate you right now. It's like, it was so awesome. Because I saw, when I first saw the tentacles, I was just like, yeah, dude, Onion Skin, that's cool and all, but not everybody has curved deformers, dude. Not everyone can afford Harmony Premium. It's like, oh, I did this with the bone deformer. I was just like, really? It's like, good grief. But that's one of the reasons why I like to teach things like even the Pepper character, the Pepper rig. I set it up with bone deformers mainly because there are people. I wish I actually had I need to almost do a poll one day and go, okay, out of all the people that are watching my tutorials, who actually owns Essentials? Who is still using Toon Boom Studio? It's like, I need to know.
Whenever somebody messages me and asks me if I can do something more essential friendly, I just send them your link, man. I'm just like, no, that's not what I'm about. Because my channel is very set up, and my mindset is very set up if you're in a studio environment with a big team.
You cannot.
So I know lots of indie guys who love bone deformers, and they can get away with it. It's just, I know a lot of the problems that can happen when you've got 25 people that have to use the rig.
Right.
So I just have a different, like when I'm starting a rig, I have a different goal in mind.
I'll see that. I was like, what? Why are you hating on the bone deformers?
No, like I said, like with your little dancing man and your shortcuts and stuff, there's like, especially if you're doing indie animation, there's so much opportunity to cheat and work around and do things that take far less time. It's just the way my channel's set up and the way that my mindset is it's something that's going to have to get used for 24 episodes, 30 minutes at a time by 25 different people at different skill levels. So I have a very different goal than a lot of the guys on here who do freelance stuff, or they do independent stuff, or work on even small teams of like less than 5.
Okay.
You have very different goals when you have those 2 different teams, right?
That makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
Tracy, you gonna draw anything, or are we talking?
We're just talking. We just got a friend show up.
Hello,
Colin.
Am I late? I had a feeling we were getting together at 12, but I think it might have been an entire hour ago.
Yes. Just a whole hour.
That's what I was like, yeah,
I'm so sorry.
That's what I was telling you. There's the whole what is that called? We have I started to say animator
daylight savings and stuff.
Animator savings time, daylight savings time. That's what it was.
Maybe that kicked off today or something. I'm not sure.
Well, ours. I think we had a conversation, and then we had our hours kicked up right after that. So
wow, okay, I see. Well, what have I missed?
Well, we were bad mouthing Australia's internet connection. We just assumed that was the problem.
Oh, really? You did that for an hour?
Yeah. Then I yelled at Tony for not using pegs.
Yes.
Well, good. It's gonna be 2 against 1 then, because pegs are rad.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well,
hang on. I need to turn on my screen share.
Okay, cool.
Where's the button?
I feel weird that I'm the only person that has a face.
I guess, but webcams.
I don't like being on camera. It's just.
It creates trust with you and your audience. I say as I swing a beer at the camera.
I definitely agree. I just don't have a good one. I'm thinking of because I use the Onion character, and I've built a rig with that I can pump out about 60 seconds of animation in about an hour with it. So that helps, but I'd like to speed it up even faster. So I'm thinking of making a puppet and just like Muppet the thing instead.
Just use auto lip sync when you're done.
Never use auto lip sync.
Hey.
I have a whole 20-minute video on how garbage auto lip sync is.
Hey. The math sets that it has isn't even like what you would like. Okay, hang on.
This is what's awesome about having you two on, because it's like I teach. This is why auto lip sync is kind of cool and saves you some time when you're doing your indie animation.
And then I make an immediate response video where I'm like, "Don't listen to this guy."
Maybe it's
What's like you did you know both of you guys did mouth tutorials at the same time, and you're both pitching that do not move the upper teeth. Do not move the upper teeth. That's like I got to do a video that says always move the upper teeth.
Bad.
Always move the upper teeth. Always.
It's just a fact. They're attached to your skull. That's another thing. I need to use my hands to express, so I need a camera.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I can't shake my fist as you're using no pegs.
As soon as it went up, someone said, "Hey, there's another mouth set tutorial that went up literally a few hours ago. There's no way this is a coincidence." So I'm like, "Yep, it is a coincidence."
We're in cahoots.
It's crazy.
This
is the first time I've met you.
Yeah, totally.
Nice to meet you, Onion Skin.
You too. I was how long you've been aware of my stuff. I was only really first shown about your stuff only a few weeks ago.
Everybody knows your stuff because you and Jazza are tight.
Oh yeah,
everybody knows that guy.
That's one reason when things get busy and it's like, oh man, I don't have time to do YouTube stuff. And it's like I can't give it up because like I had those opportunities that other people wouldn't get. Also because Jazza is a freaking gun and just never stops. And
he's nuts.
Could never keep up that level of consistency. Also, what the heck happened here, Tony? What is this?
I'm looking away
not
from
even like tidying itself up when I do the thing.
He uses that fan button.
I'm pressing the fan button. It's not doing it.
The organized by fan.
Wait, hang on. That did it, but it put it upside down. Okay. Oh,
he thinks this peacock stuff is okay.
Well, I guess it looks like
I do the other thing that annoys Trace is like I'm almost always working in the timeline.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, fair enough. I guess it depends what version you have. Like if I'm doing tutorials, like I try and stick to essentials more if I'm doing tutorial stuff. But that means it forces me to use the timeline more, and I always just use the node network. So it means I'm sort of out of my depth as soon as I go to record something, where I'm like, huh, that button isn't where I expected it to be.
I just unapologetically will not downgrade. I'm like,
Yeah,
if you want to learn that, you can go to these other nice fellows' websites where they will accommodate you.
I'm starting to shift my focus a little bit more to students and those who are looking to work as well, which happened after I joined a studio and found out that a bunch of the people there had learned harmony through Onion Skin videos. I was like, damn, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I also realized that there was a lot of stuff that they specifically needed, which hadn't been covered yet.
That's why I started, because I do a lot of in-studio helping. And so once you get the same question 12 times, you're like, maybe I should find a way to streamline this. And I have done training videos in studios where they can have it on file. So like, welcome, new animator. Open these videos and learn how we do things.
Yeah, totally. I've done that. But of course, that's using their personal pipeline, their personal assets. They earn it.
Yeah, so I just started doing rigging specifically because nobody knew how to do it. And they kept asking me. So I was like, well, now you can just watch this 25-part series.
Yeah.
Then phone me with questions.
Tricky to compact that into an hour because it's an entire career path.
Hey, Colin, you want to do me a huge favor? On the old dude layer?
This one?
Yeah, get rid of that second drawing.
Doesn't go back to here?
He doesn't want to cause controversy.
Yes,
aside from his peg controversy, because
the peg controversy, I did one of my number one clients is a political client, and I was pretty psyched about a music video I finished, and so I was trying to share it in a Toon Boom group, and I got like people like, you're trying to push your political agenda. I'm like, actually, no, I'm a capitalist. Pay me. That's my political agenda. It's like, it was made and it looked kind of cool, so I thought I would share it. So, and it was like, oh my gosh. It's like, so yeah.
It's the internet.
The interwebs, we got opinions about everything.
So it's got a kinetic output on a curve?
Is he a curve? Is that the curve?
Oh,
or I think I saw, is that a bone? There's a bone or no? No,
it is. Sorry.
It's a bone with a really huge freaking articulator on it.
Kinetic outputs get weird on curves sometimes. It's like sometimes it's all right, sometimes it's not. I
thought that was just me.
Consistent reason why.
Yeah, I was doing I was trying to animate one of my daughter's drawings. She did a really cool Venus flytrap looking thing, and I was like, I'm gonna go ahead and do this with use like a curve on the main body, and then just add like other curve deformers on the stems. And I normally use the kinematic output so I can actually move it with the body. And it was just like, you know what? I'm just going to do everything but that today. I was like, that.
Well, the kinematic output really depends on exactly where you put your pivots and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if it's a little bit too far to the left, then your stuff's going to crack and kind of crawl away.
Okay.
So you have to be, you got to pick your battles there.
Indeed.
I
opened the scene like 5 minutes ago. I didn't even prepare. So.
This isn't about preparing. I was just going, hey, this is what I have. No, I mean, and it's I am freaking Wayne's World when it comes to you too. I'm like dropping over we're not worthy. It's like I was going, this is what because like it's one of those where this is me turning in my homework assignment to my two professors going, this is what I did made, and you can tell me where I did make it wrong. So,
my thing is, if it works, it's right.
Cool.
So at the end of the day, like, whatever you got to duct tape together, if it works, it's right.
I find that to be a choose your battle sort of scenario. Like if it's like, okay, you need to do one shot and just get it done, then it's like, okay, cool, bunch it together. So something like this would be fine. Right. But say this character needed to be future-proof, they needed to have multiple angles. I'm noticing it has like the pivot's done using the permanent pivot, but the drawing pivot is like over here. So as
Don't
soon
use
as there's
the
a front-facing angle or something like that,
Yeah, I've never actually used a
this
drawing
arm
board.
wouldn't work anymore because the pivot would be like over here.
No, what you got to do is pre-animate your pivot before you paste your art. Problem solved.
Oh, right.
Mm.
Yeah, I guess that would work.
Because the new nodes in 15 rely on peg pivots heavily.
Okay.
So the drawing pivots have become a bit obsolete.
Yeah, so what you do is you pre-animate your pivot point when you're doing your rotation, then you paste in your front-facing art.
Okay.
And it'll solve all your problems, I promise.
That's good. I haven't been able to spend much time with 15 yet. My computer
Trace,
doesn't
have you done a tutorial on what you just said yet?
Yeah, Fancy Face. It's in my rigging playlist.
Okay.
I'm working on a full character rig where I'm starting from scratch and going through the whole thing. It's just my time has not been my own.
What style of rig are you doing?
I'm doing just a rotation rig, not like a crazy Deformer 360 one, but one that's like a nice utility rig for, yep, when necessary. I love a good transformation switch.
The type where it's like, theoretically, it's like 5 separate rigs that are all sort of stitched together.
Yeah. Well, my thing is I work in TV.
Yeah.
So my rig needs to be used by a lot of different people for a long time. So it has to be sturdy.
Yeah.
Because they love to break those.
Indeed. It's because I shift between rigging and animation a bit lately, which is cool because then I get to see firsthand exactly how the rigs are getting used, and where things could probably be improved, etc. I find it one thing that sort of bothers me sometimes is just the amount of times you need to mash the B key to like navigate your way up the hierarchy. So like you select a hand, okay, I need to get to the arm, and it goes through each different component of the bones and pegs and things like that. So it'd be nice to find a way to streamline that a little bit. But
I always work out of the network so that I can, and I try and keep everything. And if I'm working on, say I've got a pose where I have to switch between the face and the arms and the face and the arms or something like that, what I'll do is just drag all my pegs into a little cluster and I'll animate out of that cluster in the network so that I can select things very easily without having to run around and find stuff.
Do you ever use backdrops at all?
Sorry, what?
Do you ever use the backdrops for that at all?
Well, most like for the main rigging section, I will, but this is like a scene specific thing.
Okay.
So if in my scene I need to use these specific pegs, especially if the rigger has done a really awkward job, so you can't select like the upper torso and head at the same peg because they're insane, then I can just like slide them together. I can just select rather than making awkward selections a lot.
Okay.
Right. So with that, like having like a whole batch of them off in the corner somewhere, does using cloned layers work? Where you can just have like a whole pile of cloned pegs and just select via those?
I think so. I've never done it, but it's possible.
I've tried it, and what I found is that yes, it works, but it means you have to kind of exclusively work via the timeline, via the node view, because like selecting it on the stage won't work anymore because it's seeing the original one.
I see what you mean.
I guess unless, I don't know. I reckon there's probably a way to get that going. But you're saying that are you sort of just doing?
Yeah, I just drag them onto.
Like, I'll just put these things all here.
Yeah, exactly. But they're pegs because I'm not a monster.
Yeah. Tony, we should probably explain to you why that's a thing. I definitely see your hierarchy and how this works with everything going into a drawing and that.
Right.
The reason why to use pegs and rather than animating straight on the drawing layer.
I got one quick question. Colin, did you actually pull up another screen?
Another screen?
Oh, you're another login?
Oh, no, I joined through the link on Twitter. I'm TRY, I also animate.
Hey, welcome.
Hey. He knows me on Skype.
I was about to say, oh, Trace, I was like, it's like before I delete you, it's like who that is.
I know
is that how this is supposed to work? Is it open for?
Yeah, hi again.
I guess. Or...
Oh no! I know there's a YouTube link for everyone else, and then there's like the panelists are like they have the because there's only like 10 spots here, whereas the YouTube link there's like how many thousands of people want to watch at the same time.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Well, I guess while it's still fairly quiet, so
yes,
until things start to pack out, I guess it's not. Really
Unless he gets weird.
Unless he gets weird. Like I said, I was like, who? This was like, who are you? It's like, I'd like to talk to you about my Amway products.
That was cool. Well, tell us about your stuff. It sounds like you animate yourself.
You know me on Skype, TRY. Like.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did the Rick and Morty thing, right?
Yeah, I do the Judge Morty and the ice cream thing. And
yeah, we talk all the time. You showed me how the post copier works. That saved my bacon a few months ago.
Yeah.
I'm still learning the post copier.
A lot of people don't really use it. Like I wanted the script to the master controller to like be a better version of post copier, but the thing is it's interpolating keyframes right now, so it's not doing what I wanted yet, and the scripter hasn't gotten around to trying to fix that yet.
Yeah,
send me an email and I can forward it to Scripter. I have the email, the master email.
I'll do that.
Scripter's an anonymous human.
The person who made the post copier. I mean, the master controller.
Yeah, the one that I've posted.
Yeah, it works great.
He basically just wants to stay a secret entity, but anybody who wants to contact them can just message me and I'll forward it or whatever.
Well, are they a first-party Toon Boom developer, or did they kind of make it in their own time and give it to them?
He's just posting everything on Gumroad, and I'm posting it on my YouTube channel. But the Toon Boom has put out their own master controller.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
No, but Scripter, the one he's mentioned, he's put out one as well. And it's what it is it's sort of like a GUI for the pose copier. So you can put up, I think it's like 16 poses into this just node that you can move around. So instead of using the pose copier for your various views, you can just use this little slidey bar, which is way easier.
Okay.
Because the pose copier, it's so hard to get baby animators on board. Like they don't know how to use, they're just learning the difference between a peg and a drawing. And then you're like, hey, don't forget to use your pose copier and make sure you're using an action version of the character. And I'm like, oh. They just learned how to make a new scene.
So I guess, therefore, that's one reason why there isn't a whole lot of documentation on it, because it's more common that we'll have to make videos catering towards those who are just getting used to things. That's why they're watching videos. So the post copy stuff is always sort of like, it's hard to find an opportunity to give it priority in the to-do list, because there's always more demand for just, how do I use a peg at all? What is the node network at all?
I get so many emails that are just like, I was afraid of the node view. Thank you.
Yeah, when it clicks, it really clicks. And then it just, you really just go nuts with it. Like I rely on this thing more than I do the like After Effects. Like I think you can probably do more with it than After Effects. It's crazy.
I know for me, what I was telling because I also used to teach HTML. So what I tell people, especially if they're just learning it, they've always been using a timeline like me, get into a point where if you see a really cool rig and you're looking at your timeline, go into the node view and just see how everything's put together. And then start learning how to that's how you do parenting, or this is where the peg comes in, or
it's just that it looks complicated and intimidating at first glance, but after an hour with it, just everything works from top to bottom. That's about it, and left to right.
Yeah, until the Z-axis get involved. They let the 3D animators into our studio and everything's chaos.
Wait, what?
That's Z-axis. I think I had an advantage because when I started, there was like 10 nodes.
Right. Well, when you say Z-axis, you mean like when people use
I was on Digital Pro before like Harmony existed, any of this stuff. We went after Digital Pro was Anime Pro, and then after Anime Pro was Harmony. So we had like 10 little nodes to use.
That was the one thing I was just so as far as because I'm always doing like SEO and stuff like that. The one thing I hated that Toon Boom did was when they let go of the studio name was like it's like there's so many searches for studio tutorials. It's like you guys should have at least kept that name. It's like I have no idea what you do with it, but
it's that they rebrand every
yeah,
other
it's
year,
like
pretty much.
they went through and like we're going to be called because there's Digital Pro, then it got turned to Animate, and then Animate and Animate Pro, and then there's always Toon Boom Studio. And then when they did the
difficult for
massive thing, they said, okay, everything is Harmony now. So
yeah, it makes it difficult for people to keep up. I think like they're sticking with the Harmony brand, but the logo has already like the Zelda Triforce looking one's already come and gone in only a couple of years.
yeah, I thought the other one it made sense. I think the new what's that word? The new Toon Boom logo, the actual logo, the brand is a little different now. So
Well, I think it was to cater to now that there's a pipeline manager with producer.
okay.
Maybe.
Is everybody on OS X here, or is somebody on Windows?
I'm on Windows.
Like I found this huge bug with all Windows versions of Harmony. When you make templates out of your rigs, there's actually a huge write delay with all versions of Harmony. Like in OS X, it takes between 5 to 15 seconds to make a template with the same rig. But in Windows, I sent them one of my rigs as example. It takes 3 to 10 minutes to make a template.
Whoa!
It turns out there's a problem.
I've never had that much problem.
Yeah,
that's nuts.
If you it causes a problem like that. So if people have really slow template making rigs, it's the Windows problem. So if you know what to do with that.
I had to template about 30 assets the other day, but it only takes about 45 minutes. But if each one took 10 minutes a piece, that's the whole day job right there.
Yeah, the only time I've had really slow is when I need to copy like 8 rigs and then paste that, and then it's like obviously coughing up dust.
Oh, you mean like when you've got like 15 rigged characters on screen at once kind of thing? Or?
Some of the animators I've been working with have been littering the scene with just extra rigs everywhere.
Oh, right.
Just a few extra characters, just for good measure.
Hey, Colin, what exactly did you re-rig what I was doing, or you cleaned up my rig?
No, I'm just messing around with effects. I was just going to make his eyes glow just for the hell of it. But then I noticed that the iris color is being shared by the arms, so I couldn't put it as a master at the bottom. I had to put the color override by the eyes.
Eyes layer selectors.
Nice.
Color override has problems sometimes. I try not to use it too much.
As in like doing palette overrides, or when you're trying to isolate a particular color out of everything
Isolating
else?
usually isn't too bad if it's like scene per scene. Or like if you're using it now for like one specific node. Like I said, I work on series, so if you have 300 scenes and there's color overrides happening, the problems happen.
When there's I was gonna say when there's palette swaps out, like I notice a lot of more problems happen when it's like you sort of reuse the skeleton, like the base map of a character. If there's a whole bunch of characters that have similar sort of shapes, so it's like, oh, I can reuse this part, and then duplicate a palette to turn it into something else. There would be problems in that regard where you paste a character in and suddenly they have the color scheme of someone else. Managing that would get tricky.
I've had problems where a designer colored an entire cast of characters with one palette.
Ooh.
And just changed the color wells.
So what happened when they were all together? Palette overrides.
They just shared. We had to recolor the entire episode, or like the entire series.
Okay, even I knew not to do that one.
It was
palette overrides work 9 out of 10 times though.
Well, then you always have that animator who creates a new color when they need to like draw in a mask or something that matches the color.
Sure.
And then that doesn't work. And then you get revisions on 25 scenes and you don't know why. That's the bigger the team, the more you have to do things the long way.
I was bringing stuff over from the wrong bloody palette.
See?
Wonder why it wasn't working. It's the same shade, but oh well. Yeah. Don't need that.
I think I ate a pepper like that once. That's pretty cool. Names. You said TR. Is it TRY?
Yeah, you can just type my name in YouTube.
Okay, cool.
So
Am I allowed to share what's on your screen?
Sure.
Okay. I was about to say, 'cause, like, before we.
Oh yeah, I'm working on the
break anyone's anybody's NDA. So. Oh, nice!
I just finished doing all the mouse, all 114 of them for this. You know, for all.
Dang, that's one heck of a set.
Yeah. But yeah, no, just a standard rig, lots of pegs, lots of separation.
How'd you go about masking the profile mouth?
Hmm?
How'd you go about masking the profile mouth?
Oh, it's it's a mask on the head circle. So when I want something to like I could just get rid of the bottom of mouth and just draw it like that, but I did that so I could like kind of drag this around like this.
Yeah, nice.
It's just it's a green color on the underlay set to cut the head circle.
Ooh,
green screen, nice.
Yeah, I mean, I can just I can do it without the green screen, but I figured like I want to have the line always merge like this without having to redraw it, so I just did it that way.
That's a much better way.
And everything else just a bunch of sync layers. Ooh. There's not a lot of deformers on this. I tried to go light on deformers because I want to like draw more parts and stuff.
Okay, so where are you on bone versus curve?
I hate bone deformers.
Yes.
Never use them.
Okay. All right.
Um,
Tracy has no comment yet. Hold that thought. Why do you not use bone deformers?
Well, like the peg deformer, like pegs do everything a much simpler way, and they have the same kind of rotation. Like the only reason I'd use a bone deformer if, like, let's say I have like this arm here, and like I have this like color that goes from this arm piece to this arm piece, and there's like a line right here.
Okay.
And then, like if you would rotate like this, the arm would break because the color would be like right here and right here. So then you could use a bone deformer and set this this line merges in the elbow. Or like if I'm doing like pony animations, like I stick it like in the hooks and stuff. That's where I would use bone deformers.
Tracy uses them for dogs, but okay.
Well, I mean they work there.
I'm pretty sure you just said verbatim what I said.
Yeah, it was. No, he was listening earlier. That's what happened.
Yeah. Okay.
But I find even then,
and me and Onion Skin are colluding on the old mouth charts too.
Well, even then, I try not to use curves very often because it locks the anchor point. But if you just use an envelope as if it were a curve, then you have the ability to pick up the root independently, which I find is the way to go 90% of the time. And bones sort of have they have a time and a place. Like I don't know if you saw the one I did on like wavy tentacles a few weeks ago.
Yeah,
yeah. Particularly moments like that. I stumbled across that when I had to animate like a mermaid tail swaying.
I still hate you for that. I
spent like 3 hours trying to get a good sway motion going using curves, and it always looks like trash. And then I thought, well, what if I just did a chain of bones and displaced them all by 1 frame each? And it worked. And I just looped that, and it was like, oh wow, this is really easy.
Dude, that's a nice arm cross there.
Oh yeah. Like that's another tutorial that somebody needs to make how to make the auto patch work on Z depth. So like a lot of people have problems with that.
I try not to use auto patch as much as I can.
Really?
Well, because like I said, I have to give the rig to a baby animator. They don't even know how auto patches work. So
I get that, yeah.
Yeah, but the animators shouldn't really need to deal with that very often.
Well, if you make drawing substitutions and you don't separate your line art and color, some of the babies don't even know line art and color art are things.
Yeah,
I'm getting kids that just crawl out of the Sheridan or wherever. They don't know how this works.
They're still working in TV though, right? So they got to learn sometime.
But baby animators don't. They need to have a nice demo reel, which could have been traditionally drawn. It could have been done in Flash. It could have been done in anything. And it doesn't mean they knew how to.
Software can always be learned. We recently hired about 20 animators. They were all fresh out of college. All great, but all traditional. Like they train in like TV Paint and stuff like that. So it's like I have a brush, I have a timeline. That's all I need. And we're like, okay, but we're doing a 100% rigged based show where there's like no redraws at all. So it took a couple of weeks of training, but they got there. They figured it out pretty quickly. And we moved on to a different production now that's a lot more of a hybrid. So some rigs, some redraws, and
those are my favorite to work on because they get just really cool looking.
Oh, totally. Because rigs are, no matter how flexible a rig is, it's always restrictive because it's a rig.
Well, I find that the rigs that are so flexible they can look like redraw are so cumbersome, it's not even worth it.
So are you at a studio in particular now, or do you say that you sort of float between them?
I've been at a studio now for about 2 years, which is one of the longer contracts I've had, but I bounce around the different Canadian studios here in Ontario.
Cool.
Whoever has a show at the time.
Wait, what?
Whoever has a show at the time. And I try not to rig anymore. I rigged for about 5 years and I got really angry.
So what happened when the 15 rigging nodes came out and you're like, oh man, springs and things, let's get back into this?
I worked in the studio that created the original nodes.
Oh,
so
cool.
I was just so happy that everyone could have them now. I was like, because when I left the studio, I had to leave the nodes behind. I was like, bye nodes. It's called Guru in Toronto.
Nice.
Yeah.
How do they go about creating a node like that? Do they sort of just string together other things that exist?
No, they have this magical human who is part animator, part programmer.
Right.
And he just created all this stuff. He's like a superhuman being.
So it's scripted as like the plugins and stuff?
Yeah.
Like how the Pose Copy is done?
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
Yeah. It's rare to find people like that because people were able to gel really easily back in the Flash era because someone could be completely a coder and someone else could be completely an artist and they could work together very seamlessly.
Right.
But being able to inject script into Harmony, you need to be one person who understands both. Trying to communicate the ideas between two people of independent skill sets is really hard.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've been working with the guy Scripter and we've got a few cool new nodes out, but like I could either at this point learn programming and get really into rigging and the technical stuff, or I could completely shun it and go the other way and go more into the arts and stuff. And that's kind of more where I feel like I want to go. I don't want to learn programming. I'll never get out of the rigging department.
I'm probably going to start leaning more
to do a bit more character animation again then.
Yeah, I've been doing, I do special effects as my day job.
Oh, nice. So is that via the inside Harmony as well?
Yeah.
Oh, wicked. I know hardly anyone else who does that, so that's great.
Yeah, it's fun. It's like a tiny little community.
Well, where's the rest of the community? Like, I don't know anyone, and it's like
there's no one online. Nobody I know is online. We're all like a secret.
Sounds like community. Canada's the place to be then. Like Australia's been really exciting over the last couple of years. Nearly every studio started doing a show at the same time. So there's plenty going on. But
yeah, if you want to work in TV 2D, Ontario is one of the best places in the world to be right now.
Okay.
Because a lot of the American stuff is outsourced overseas, which is Canada.
Right. is the dollar just good for it at the moment?
Yeah, the dollar, and we don't need healthcare.
And but do you reckon like if that was if the economy was to shift though, would all of the work go straight back to
back when
South Korea and stuff again?
Back when the economy crashed, big time, nobody had work. But nowadays, it's good times for animators here in Toronto, here in Ontario.
Yeah, it sounds like a very similar story to here actually. Oh. Except all you guys, because obviously Toon Boom's made there. Everyone has a bit more experience. A lot of studios have switched recently, so
it got really big in Canada about just when I graduated, actually, which is how I got into it because it was starting to get big on the scene.
When did you I learned it because you've been using Toon Boom a long time.
10 years ago, maybe.
No, that's a good time for it because like a lot of people, nearly everyone was still using Flash at that point. Yeah. The shift is only really starting to happen now when it comes to the independent scene.
Yeah, it's really spreading. There's a lot of South American studios that are opening up and getting Toon Boom shows. Cool. And a lot of like the traditional overseas, like Korea, Philippines, places like that are really picking up on Toon Boom as well.
I noticed. I
Right.
saw something recently where like there are people who were using the anime program Redis Pro, who started shifting over to using Harmony. And they once they started getting into it, they're like, "Oh my God, why where's Harmony been? I should have been using this." So it's an interesting shift that's happening. TRY, quick question.
Yeah.
I know I asked you this about the rabbit, but and pardon my ignorance. Do you actually work on Rick and Morty, or are you doing your own thing of Rick and Morty?
No, I'm just like doing like on my own. Like I got in contact with Justin Roiland last year, and I just did a few things with him, like when he sent me audio. So I'm not like he offered me a job to work in the show, but you need like an H-1B visa to work at not Bardell, the Canadian one, but the other one in America, Starburns.
Okay.
So they have Rick and Morty LLC over there, but it's really hard to get an American visa. So I just I don't really do anything with that. So I just do this for fun on the side.
Okay, but I was asking because I keep switching off of your review because what you're doing is cool. I just don't want to be like, no,
Yeah, no.
you weren't supposed to show that.
No, this is just it's normal. I just wanted to like say if you ever stack effects in Harmony on a rig, does it ever do this? When you stack too many effects?
No, I don't know what you did.
Like I don't know what happened. Like it like
what are we looking at?
Holy.
this is
Oh,
like this
as
is
in
what
like the
happened when you
rig's just
render it.
like exploded and thrown assets everywhere.
Oh,
Yeah,
you're in render view. Did it just take that long to actually render it out or something?
Well, in render view it's fine, but whenever I go back to open GL view, it's like this, and I have
Oh, yeah,
no
that
idea
happens.
what happened.
Usually I see more of just a Z-axis problem. I don't see explosions as much,
Yeah,
but you can definitely get some Z-axis problems.
I was trying to figure out like maybe it's because of the turbulence that's doing it.
What does
Yeah.
tend to cause things looking different in OpenGL to render view though?
Like
It's a mystery.
if I detach it from the whole effect setup, like you can see it works fine here. But then if I had put it back where it was like this, it's like this.
Right.
That is
That's definitely one of the issues if you're working in effects or compositing in Harmony is oftentimes you have to work in the render view.
Yeah.
So
Well,
using
thank goodness render-
isolating displays can really help there.
what to say.
Just to like slow, just to speed things up. But
If I'm going to work in render view, I'm going to need a much more powerful computer.
Well, you can
you
use
need a proper beefy computer if you're working with something a lot of compositing.
usually you can find ways to isolate it. So if you just use render preview to make sure the bit in question is looking good, and that can be set to like quarter resolution as well.
Okay.
So there's ways around it. I usually find myself isolating things by just having a display that just sort of floats, and I just take that with me around the
Yeah.
scene. So, and I never see the finished thing up until it renders, because it's like, well, that has about 3,000 effect nodes in it, so I guess I'll see it in the morning. And then see any notes that I need with it, and it's like, okay, guess I'll have to just try and fix as many things as I can. I don't know. Harmony is great with its effects, but geez, it gets heavy. Really heavy.
The very first, the opening scene in the My Little Pony movie just made me start sweating when I was watching it.
Oh yeah.
I was like, oh my god, there's so many there's so much happening. Oh my
Do you reckon
god.
it was all
And there's-
composited locally though, or they'd just export each asset one at a time and throw it together in Premiere?
I met the lead compositor on the movie at one of the
Cool.
Toon camps.
Yeah.
And I saw when he told me that, I told him that. I was like, I just started sweating watching that shot. And he's like, I did that by myself. And it took me a month.
Ooh.
That one shot took him one whole month because there was just so many characters and everything had to be isolated and done one at a time. But it was done in Harmony.
Fire out. Kudos.
Yeah.
I thought they were saying that. I thought they were in Flash. Did they switch over?
Yeah. Well, the movie was done in Harmony. I don't know about the television show.
Now the show is done in Flash, but they're switching over to Harmony for the new one, the reboot in 2020.
Okay.
Okay.
They're
Are
rebooting again.
They wouldn't dare redesign the show again, would they? I mean, they had such a hit.
No, it's a total reboot, total redesign.
Wow, that's a huge risk.
The current series is ending in 2019, the last season.
I wonder how that will go, because it's not something like Ninja Turtles where you can redesign that every 6 months and people seem to be okay with it.
Trust me, all the Ninja Turtles fans, including myself, are like, again, really? Where were we at the other one? But yeah,
Yeah, but it's always they've pre-established like a Turtles multiverse now, where they have movies where they cross over the '80s ones with the 2000s ones and whatever. It's like a Marvel franchise. Here's one for you. Do you guys ever find much use for symbols in Toon Boom?
None.
I use them for fusion works.
Here's a case where I found a use for it. So this is the onion rig, which is it's fun doing person rigs because I can go like really against the grain as to how you're supposed to do it in film and TV. So I have these like contours going down, right? And each one of them is just a straight line that's curved deformed into place like that. But in order to rotate it around the body, rather than having to grab each one of those and move it a little bit every time, I compacted them all into a symbol. So now it's kind of like a mouth set inside the library. The contours are a whole set of image swap outs that basically do that. So whenever the character rotates, I just go next frame and then just sort of just kind of line up the bottom lip like that and just nudge next frame. So then it kind of gets a bit more of a believable 3D rotation to it.
I probably would have just done drawing substitutions because I'm lazy.
Drawing substitutions of the contour bend?
Yeah. Because you could just use like a line tool and have a single line, and it's just as flexible as the curve deformer.
But this way I could tween the thing.
You could you could morph it.
So in here, so that's all. Like obviously there's different ways to do it, to each their own. I was just excited to find a practical use for symbols.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad idea.
I was using it recently. I'm see if I can. There it is. Let me see if I can pull this up.
I can see using it in a studio though, and then just be like, "Oh, it's in a symbol," and everybody going, "What?"
Well, it kind of just becomes
no one would ever find
at
it.
that point.
It'd be like your own little secret.
It works the same as drawing swap outs though. Like you know, it's just and you can name them and everything, grab them and sort of mix and match them. It weirds people out though because it's a fundamentally different use than what symbols are for in Flash.
Right.
Because Flash users come over and they're like, oh, there's symbols. I'll just use them the same way that I'm used to. But everything that they've always used a symbol for is what pegs are for now.
Yeah, I hate Flash.
The amount of debates that I have.
I was trying to figure out recently from a teaching standpoint, I'm like, do I do a course in Flash? It's like I keep checking my SEO and going, how many people are still interested in this?
It's definitely worthwhile from a marketing standpoint, just because there's still so many people using it.
Nobody is here.
I use it for
Flash is really getting pushed out of the market. I mean, I think TV Paint or like Moho are starting to come up more than Flash are.
I think Moho is something I want to explore a lot more.
Yeah, if I had a baby animator come up to me like, I have no money, I need to, but I want to learn animation, I'd probably send him to Moho first.
Really? Not something like Krita?
Or what about Open Tunes?
I think Open Tunes, because I haven't used it myself, I've heard a lot of good things about if you want to do your own drawing animation.
Yeah.
So if you're hand drawing stuff frame by frame, it's really good.
Open Tunes sounds
definitely
like
don't need Harmony Premium if you're doing frame by frame drawings.
Yeah. Open Tunes grows very rapidly as well. People are always putting new features into it. It's kind of like Blender in that way. So it's pretty incredible what it's capable of for a free program, but it might actually be a bit deep for some people doing it the first time because I don't think it didn't even have a timeline for a long time. You had to use an X sheet.
Can you see my screen?
Krita started off as a drawing program, and then it got animation capability later.
I didn't even know if it could draw or it could animate. I'm behind the times.
That's what I mean. So it became an open source animation software fairly recently, and it's everything that you need to get started. So it's pretty easy to sort of get the hang of as well. Jessica Jones did a really good tutorial on it a few weeks ago.
Can you all see my screen?
Yep. Yeah, with the card. In it.
This is my reason for and I was playing around recently. I actually was able to add a curve deformer to a symbol. So the full symbol, I used it kind of the same way you would have done in Flash, where it's the wheels are turning, which by the way, I think I had the wheels going one animated and then watched this thing called Stylish Rumble. They had this awesome tutorial on wheels turning. And I was like, okay, I'm going to redo my wheels. So basically, I got my my little puffs of smoke coming out and everything like that. But the symbol itself is down here. Then I just have a deformer controlling it, and I was like, wait a minute, I can actually do some really crazy, wacky racer stuff with this. And yeah, everything is actually happening. Like in the symbol, there's like the limo, there's the flag, there's all the stuff happening here.
Where's the symbol though? Oh,
The
there it
symbol's
is.
actually,
Okay.
yeah, no, I just went inside the symbol a second ago, but this is like
sorry.
on the main timeline, and so I'm actually controlling the symbol with a deformer.
Does it improve the performance at all versus just adding the deformer to the top of the rig?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
That's a good
Top
question.
of the, I don't know. I think this is again one of those things of where I had finished the piece and I was like, this is kind of cool, and because I was like pulling it from, I would normally just save it out or save it within my symbol library because I had to keep pulling it back out for something, and I think it was a happy accident, so I kind of liked it. So I haven't actually tried that.
A good solution. I'm just wondering if it actually improves performance, because if it does, that's game changing.
Yeah.
Coolness. I have to check that out.
Yeah, performance is kind of the main issue with a lot of this stuff.
That's one of the reasons I got out of rigging, because the #1 complaint about rigs is that they're laggy. And the #2 thing about rigs is that they want more bells and whistles. I'm like, well, I can't do both.
Is effects really the place to go when the thing that's
it's beautiful in effects. Effects is the very end of the pipeline. So they've already been through the storyboards. They've been through the design. They've been through animation, character animations all done. And so by the time they get to effects, they're so tired of that episode. They just want whatever you got.
I mean, like in regards to program performance, is that it's something that is notorious for slowing things down.
But my problem's not performance. It's people complaining to me about the performance.
Oh, right. Yeah, gotcha.
Because rigging is a really awful place to be when it comes to like interaction with other humans, because nobody's happy all the time.
Right.
You can't rig for everybody. It's not possible. You can rig to make maybe one person happy. And then the other person's like, but I like not having pegs. Help you.
That will be my production. Like, no pegs allowed here.
Hey, if my boss wants no pegs, I'll put no pegs. I don't care. You pay the bills.
Colin, you said you don't have 15 yet?
No, my machine doesn't run it.
Huh. How do you handle your feet? Like if you want to plant them in 14 then?
Good question. Usually I'll bone rigs from the feet up and align the hip. It's like if a leg's going behind like shorts or something like that, then it's pretty straightforward.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of time, like being curves, if you use envelopes, then it's independent from, end to end.
Right. Well, let me show you in 15 real quick.
But also things like walk cycles and stuff like that, the feet are only on the ground for a few frames, so just lining it back up again isn't a huge deal.
In 15, you can do this. Like when you move the feet around, you can attach a transformation limit to say the foot, and then you attach a constraint switch, and then like
you bend it at the waist, and it just bends the knees automatically, right?
No, like this. Look, it makes it so that you can keyframe when you want the foot to be disconnected from the leg, so that you can move the leg around like this.
That's pretty cool.
It's not gonna move the foot.
Yeah, I really want to get into that. I sometimes use image switches as well. Image switches are like the best invention in the world. Like I keep finding brand new uses for them that are completely independent to anything I've ever done with them before. I'd be interested to hear if you guys have ever done stuff like that. Like if you ever do use image switches at all, or if so, what are some of the crazy things you found that are useful with them?
I do know, I can see, I want to do that, but I can see from the looks of this, we almost need to do another one of these maybe next month, and like we'll call it the eyes have it. Everyone's like I'm sitting up here and I'm trying not to curse on this. I'm like, looking, that's a nice rig. I was like, you, not nice person, you. It's really cool.
Yeah, I love image switches. On the subject of image switches. And I like that you can use a transformation switch as a peg switch if you kind of jimmy it a little bit.
Right? It's I'm trying to think of some examples of what I use them for, though. I don't know why nothing's springing to mind, because there's been so many unique scenarios. Often when there's an entire scene sort of taking place, and it's like, you know what? I need to have all of this go away. And I don't want to have to go through each layer deleting the artwork. So I know. I'll just keyframe this one bit and it'll disappear.
We used to just use transparencies. I find myself still doing that a lot.
All right.
So it's good if you work on a show that has multiple views.
Yep.
Like rather than a rotating rig. So you could use an image switch to switch between views, or if you have like a prop, say he's taking his hat off his head and putting it in his hand, rather than working with drawing substitutions, you can work with an image switch there. You could also use your transform switch as a little bit of a jimmy there.
Mm-hmm.
But these are some of the reasons that I highly recommend that any animator learns rigging. Because when I have a problem, like pegs or like props changing from one thing to another, that's not a problem for me. But baby animators who don't learn how the rigs work have the hat outside the character group. Yeah. Just like over there. And then they like shift select things. And I'm just, it hurts my heart.
Yeah, it's funny. Well, it's such a huge software that if you're coming out of college and joining a production, you learn how to do the animation for that specific production.
Right.
But so much more of the program that they simply don't need to explore because it's just outside of their day-to-day. But you're right, that simply learning that these features exist they'll be able to avoid so many problems. And it would be good to encourage it.
Yeah, it's one of the advantages to getting into a smaller studio first, because they're forced to teach you to do a lot more.
Yeah, well, that's how I figured everything out.
Yeah, the first studio I worked in was this low-budget place in a wood shop that they converted into a studio. So there was still sawdust on the floor. Like it was, they had a bunch of stocktails they stole off a truck or something.
Rustic.
And I was the lead rigger because I rigged 2 characters, so I had the most experience.
Yeah.
So you're forced to learn everything. But if you start in a big studio, like you're one of this huge team and they're like, we just need you to animate this character and make it look okay.
Yeah,
and
so
nobody
no
has
opportunity to research. Like that, I love that about small studios, because there would be days where it's just like, I just get to spend the day researching and experimenting and just putting things together in different ways and seeing what happens. It was wonderful. I learned so much more than doing like a college course.
Oh, I love small studios. I'm never going to ever get into feature because I can't imagine working on one thing for 2 years and specializing in that very one specific thing.
Oh, right. So if you did like...
So boring.
So if you did like a Marvel film and it's just like, I'm putting the detail on this guy's face.
Yeah, I just have to take out this mustache. That's my job. Mustache removal.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, we're getting ready to wrap up. So I did want to do a quick closeout here. So it seems I am outvoted with respect to pegs, and I've at least started using them more.
I don't even know if we discussed it very much. We didn't even talk about...
You missed the first hour.
We did before you got here.
Oh, yeah. Well, did you talk about things like... come on, menu. It's not doing stuff. Well, if that was to scroll down, which it's not because it's frozen. Oh, wait. I know why.
It's that old Australian internet.
No. The whole autosave dialog box came up, but it turned up on my other monitor so I can see it. Like, did you talk about this thing? Like embedded peg switches and bloody this button here?
Yes, we actually mentioned the button. Yes.
And then this panel, which is the best.
Yeah, that's a good panel.
So much time, because there was a time where like I was rigging and I didn't know about this panel, and I was going through each node, like manually checking to make sure that it's
you kids right. Don't remember the day when that panel didn't exist.
Oh yeah, that seems like a panel that would have been put in as a request.
It's
I'd love to
improved over
hear
the
about your
years.
stories of the olden days.
Time upon
Like
a long, long ago.
my closest to that is that I started in Toon Boom Studio, and like that was just such a notorious time because you couldn't lock layers or select multiple layers at once. That when I finally upgraded to premium, it was such a breath of fresh air that I exploded into just needing to learn everything.
You
and how
started
to
in
exploit it
studio?
all.
I didn't know that.
Hey,
You started in studio?
Toon Boom Studio, yeah, for sure. My first videos on the channel are in Toon Boom Studio.
Oh wow.
But after I started doing that, because I was like, okay, I'll sort of just start low and work my way up. I'll cover everything in Studio, then I'll cover everything in Animate, then everything in Animate Pro, then everything in Harmony. And about 3 weeks after I started the channel, the entire product line was shifted into the Harmony trilogy. And I was like, that'd be nice if they gave us a heads up, but I will.
I love Toon Boom, but they are more lock-lipped than Apple when it comes to things. It's like
I know, right? It's
Harmony
like,
16 might be coming out tomorrow. We don't know yet. It's like I love them, but they keep everything on lock. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, I was hanging out with Marc Andre once, and I was just sort of talking about this stuff, and he just sort of winks at me. I'm like, come on. So they know what they're doing.
Yeah, they're I think what's happening recently is and that's where I've kind of shifted what I'm doing is more toward, like I said, the teachers and K through 12 and certification.
Yeah, it's like when like a bank will get like young kids' first bank account, and it's like, I'm an adult and I can't be bothered changing, so I guess I'll just stick with these guys. So my entire generation is pretty much with Commonwealth.
Coolness. So what I wanted to let my followers know, one, thank you to my guest, Onion Skin or Colin and Tracy from Status Rumble.
I like that you're checking your cheat sheet what my name is.
I'm not checking. I'm not checking.
You're like reading a card.
No, I'm going. Because there's this running gag because it's Stylus Rumble, so it's Stylus, but it's not Stacy. It's Stylus with Tracy. So I always mess it up. So I want the Stylus Rumble, Tracy, Stylus Rumble. Yes. Anyway, I'm just calling you guys by your names. Like there's Stylus Rumble and there's Onion Skin, TRY, and everybody.
So is this going up on your channel after this, I guess?
Actually, it's already on my channel. It's pretty live. So yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, we're recording, doing like and dude, your interweb is actually keeping up with my fiber. So congrats on that.
Yeah, I'm thrilled.
Wow. So, this has been Tony Ross for TonyTeach. Wanted to let you guys know we are in the process of releasing. We've done the first. What is the word I'm looking for? The first all-inclusive pieces we did for Harmony were done with O'Reilly, and I've also done stuff with Lynda.com. This is actually going to be the first one that I'm releasing under TonyTeach.com, and it's going to be coming out in April. And letting you guys know, for those who are interested, we are starting pre-sales. And where's my link? Somewhere over the rainbow. If you check out TonyTeach.com/Sellfy, you can find where my Sellfy store is. And for the next week, we're going to leave everything at $29.99. After that, pre-sale goes to $49, and when it's released, it will be at $99. So I'm trying to make this affordable for everyone. And if you can't afford any of that, dude, my free tutorials are always there on YouTube. And if you are trying to do studio stuff, be sure to check out TRY. Do you have a channel?
Yeah, it's just TRY on YouTube.
TRY on YouTube?
Yep.
Okay, cool. TRY, and there's also Onion Skin, who I keep referring to as Colin. And I've occasionally called him out of his name because he made that awesome tentacle thing.
I prefer to just use my regular name. The Onion Skin is just the channel name.
Okay, Colin.
Yeah.
See, okay, Colin. See, I can't mix up.
It's not an alias. I feel super weird having a nickname after a vegetable.
Well, dude, it's Well, no, it was like you reminded me of like what was it the class I was teaching the other day. They kept calling it the onion, and I was like, you're supposed to be teaching your students. You can't keep calling it the onion. It's the onion skin. It's like
Wait, what? Are you talking about the feature of the onion skin?
the feature of the onion skin. I'm teaching a class of teachers, and they kept saying the onion. I was like, not the onion skin. And they say the running man, the animate button. So it's like it was great. But yeah, but speaking of her, the idea came about where I wanted to do a couple of project-based things, and I was asked a couple of people have been asking for things that are K through 12. So this training it's one of the first ones where I'm not going, hey, it's for everyone. If you're trying to do studio stuff, this is more of a getting your feet wet and learning stuff. Studio stuff is
young. It's funny that they're all referring to the right man. I always I encourage animators to just not touch the animate button ever, because it keeps happening where they'll switch it off and then forget to switch it back on again, animate an entire scene, not realize that no keyframes are going down, and hit play, and the whole thing's still.
I'm more of a fan of, if you've ever seen anyone play an actual organ and they're switching on and off the Leslie. It's like there's this little vibratos that you see click and turning on, click, turn off.
Yeah, that's a really good way to connect with high school students. You know when you're playing your organ.
Okay, so obviously I'm gonna have to figure out.
I don't know. Maybe in America, like organ playing is a big subject.
I don't know. Well, maybe, but I don't know. Grew up in a different type of group. It's like you know, what is it? Oh man, like the ham. I guess. Wait a minute. How many musicians are online? Tracy, are you a musician?
No.
Okay.
I played a bass in like a high school band. Does that count as a musician?
Well, it's like I think almost all the animators I know are they're like guitarists or drummers or something. So
I ain't got time to do anything but animate.
I haven't actually played in a while. I'm just saying I can play.
Actually, that's one last thing I was meaning to ask you, Tracy. Like, assuming that you're working full time, how do you manage getting a video out every week?
I strained my eyes a month ago. I don't have any life balance.
Right.
I was putting out 2 videos a week for most of last year.
That's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
And I have a 3-year-old as well who's quite time consuming.
Wow.
Right.
At the beginning of this year, we had a lot of studio tests because we had a big conference coming up. So I was working between 12 up to 17 hours a day.
Yeah.
So I let it slide, but I did strain my eyes and I'm not in good physical shape. So if you're trying to look for a role model, I'm not it.
Definitely sounds like one to turn to. So never sleep is your advice.
Yeah, I'm a big insomniac. I drink a lot of coffee.
Well, you get a lot done.
There's a reason I don't have a fitness channel, guys.
Well, best luck to you there. I think it's pretty admirable. My consistency is the worst. It's so hard to sit down and get something out every week.
Yeah, I've been really bad this week. But I also work from home. So I don't need to do things like get dressed or leave the house.
Yeah, it's true. But I find that when my time is more precious, I tend to use it more wisely. I would waste a lot of time when I worked from home. So being in a studio environment,
I have way too many guilt and anxiety problems to not work a lot.
Having a family is definitely a good motivator.
My idea for consistency is one I've known about for years. I have yet to use it because if you've ever heard the marshmallow study, like where there's 2 more. Anyone ever heard the marshmallow study?
No.
Oh my gosh! There's an actual thing where they set these little kids in a room and they put a marshmallow on a plate. They say, "Hey, here's a marshmallow. But if you don't touch this marshmallow and I come back in 10 minutes, I'll give you another one." And so it's like who can actually it's like the whole instant gratification thing. Yeah, so instant gratification. So me, I've never actually gotten to this because the idea is you would kind of stockpile, or at least go, okay, I've got a good day here. I can get a couple of tutorials done, and so you can say, yes, one's coming out every week, but I'm going to record them all now. Kind of do it the way like actual things run, where they're what is that? Food Network.
We have like a bank.
Like do it in batch.
I've never done that. Mine's always like, I got no time, guys. We're gonna do some garbage I'm making up on the spot. We're gonna edit it, make it better.
I did it once and it was great. But then in the interval between where the next set had happened, I noticed that the supply quickly started to exhaust. It also rubbed me the wrong way having a single lesson broken up over 8 weeks.
Yes.
Like, man, if you're not interested in this particular topic, then it's nearly 2 months until the next series.
Well, that's like rigging this whole character. People have messaged me asking me to rig a character from scratch, and I'm like, someone wants to watch this?
Yeah, so it's like, I think that's really cool and it needs to happen. But yeah, when I did something similar, my mindset was also like, geez, if the people that don't want to see this, that's all they're getting.
Yeah.
All right. I am going to get ready to log off here.
All right.
I want to thank you guys again. I think we got to do this again because there's a small handful of us that do stuff online.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind.
We all have our different niches.
Somewhat regular thing. We've all got very similar yet different experiences, which is quite fascinating to hear about. I'm sure there's a few others around that we should probably ask around. Anyway.
Did I burn that? Yes, you did.
Take care, everyone. Thank you for
Great.
your time and your thoughts and experiences and all that. Learned a lot.
Yes. And guys, I'll send you guys. I guess I'll send you this. Words. Anyway, I'll send you guys the links. And yeah, let's see if we can let's figure out another one.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, if anyone else wants to host, let me know.
Yeah, if we do it about a half an hour, if we do it an hour later, that's much better for me.
If we do it an hour,
that semi-regularly.
You mean when Colin came in?
Yeah, that's a better time.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Oh, no problem. No, you set a precedent, evidently. Coolness.
How regular is that? I guess we'll just sort of play it by ear.
Yeah, play by ear. Maybe I'll post a thing and say, "Hey."
Tony's good at harassing people. Yeah. He'll get it all involved.
He is.
He'll organize the guts out of stuff.
Holy crap! I am the least organized person I know.
No, but you're good at chasing people up. It seems.
Okay, cool.
Because
I've known about Colin for a million years, but I'd never thought to like message him.
I was like, "Hey,
I don't even leave my house. Why would I talk to strangers?"
Instead, you're probably looking at my stuff and thinking, I can do a better job than that.
No, I've learned things. I watch every tutorial out there because everything you learn is something that you could use to get faster. The end.
Yeah, totally.
You need to know every cheat or you know nothing.
Well, and there's no time to stop as well because every year, each new batch of graduates are getting better and better and better. So if you're ever stagnant, we're going to fall behind and then we're obsolete.
Well, I play Rover at the studio, so I need to know what every department is doing to keep up and fill in the blanks when.
Rover, what does that mean?
Well, it's basically whatever position needs filling. So I do character animation, I do rigging, I do layout, I do.
Right.
That's exactly what I do. I guess I have a title now.
Yeah, you're Rover, Studio
because
Rover.
like I was asking the other day, I was like, what credit am I gonna get? And the manager
I'm not credited on even a fraction of the stuff I've worked on.
Wait, what?
I'm not credited on a fraction of the stuff I've worked on.
Yeah, so a lot of the managers were kind of perplexed trying to figure out what my credit should be because no one had really stopped to think about it because it was just as
they're just technical director.
Whatever the task of the day was, putting out fires and things like that. It's an interesting experience because there'll be some days where the beginning is feeling fairly shallow, but today's a fairly relaxed day, and then 3 different departments will come up and be like, "Hey, we need this sorted out," and then it becomes a pretty heavy one. I don't know if your experience is sort of like that.
Yeah, it's super like that.
Well, it's fun. It's good to find someone to relate to.
Well, you finish up your wrap up and we can just chat about it.
Cool.
Oh yeah, sorry
All
about
right.
that.
Oh, no problem.
That was
Tony-
good plug, Tony.
Tony, yeah.
So yes.
Go check out Tony's new course. It's on
Yeah.
sale right now. Go do that. Thanks to everybody here at TRY. We got Colin, who's Onion Skin. We got me, who's Styles Rumble. Thanks, everyone. Peace.
Thank you. This has
Take
been
care.
Tony Ross for TonyTeach.com. Remember, keep it simple. Make it perfect. If you don't have time to make it perfect, rethink the idea. Hey, make sure you like this. Go check out everyone else's channel. And hey, leave us some comments. What do you want us to talk about next when we get back together? Peace.
Bye.